basic stuff that frees him up to do. Yeah, this feels better. Okay. When the meeting gets longer, they can start going.
Who's all in favor of starting the meeting without the mayor?
No, you can't.
Even your wife voted for it.
Unanimous.
We should all give a standing ovation.
Rutgers. And he did push-ups. I was like, why is he doing push-ups? I don't know why he got penalized. Is that why he got penalized? He said that's his first penalty in 12 years of action.
Standing ovation.
You know, we criticize coaches too when they don't get emotional enough.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
Is he really?
I don't know what. Is it his recruiting or his coaches?
Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Schlegel. Are you good now?
If they win,
I'm good.
if they win the last two,
He kept coming in and out till we
we'll have
left.
lost to number 3,
Just like going through that door.
Ohio State, Michigan.
All right, we're going to call the council meeting for November 14th to order. We'll stand for the pledge and remain standing for a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
things before we get started tonight. I apologize, we're all going to have to yell because the microphones aren't set up yet. Hopefully you can all hear us okay. And secondly, welcome to Plum's new home. This is a pretty impressive building. There's a lot of things that the community, a lot of, not things, I don't want to say, it's a better word than things. There's a lot of features to this building that are going to benefit the community. We're going to have an amphitheater outside. We have a beautiful gymnasium downstairs with some party rooms, and we're looking forward to settling in here and taking care of the taxpayers of Plum's business. So welcome everybody. And with that said, Mr. Thomas, roll call please.
Certainly. Mr. Delaney? Here. Mr. Dern?
Here.
Mr. Doyle?
Here.
Mr. Hadley? Here. Mr. Seitz?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Vento?
Here.
Mayor Ribnat? I mean Schlegel.
Kareem, thank you.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I'll entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report for the month of October 2022.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dern,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Vento, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Also need a motion to approve the expenses for the month of October 2022.
Second.
I'll second.
All right. Motion by Mr. Hadley, seconded by Mr. Taylor, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Also need a motion to approve the minutes of the October 12th, 2022 council meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dern,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Seitz, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Mayor, recognitions of achieving the community.
Well, I have a couple this evening, but the first one, could I have Saint Don Marie come up, please? And the reason you're a saint is you've been married to him for a while. I know you love him, but you have to be a saint.
It's the other way around.
Clearly no mirrors in the Schlegel household.
It's just a fat old man picture. The reason we're recognizing Dawn tonight is she was one of 12 in the Commonwealth to receive a very prestigious award. The certificate of appreciation is presented to Dawn Marie Dern, whereas thoughtfulness and service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges. And whereas Dawn Marie Dern of Plum EMS recently received the Stars of Life Award from the EMS Provider Foundation. She was one of only 12 recipients from Pennsylvania to be recognized. And whereas Dawn Marie has been an integral part of the EMS team for 20 years, she is a leader, a friend, and a resource for other team members. And whereas Dawn Marie is an essential factor in the success of Plum EMS Quality Assurance Program, loved by the billing company, and for this and other reasons is known as the Queen Bee. And whereas Dawn sincerely cares about Plum EMS, and with a very untraditional approach, improved the completing of patient care reports within 72 hours as required by the state, and the Plum EMS goal of 24 hours. And whereas Dawn Marie sincerely cares about Plum EMS, she is also a phenomenal pre-hospital care provider, an advocate for her patients and their families. And whereas Dawn was recently completely surprised by this prestigious award and commented that there are so many others at Plum EMS who deserve this award. Dawn, you were not given this award because you simply do your job. You received it because of how you do your job. And whereas Dawn Marie Dern exemplifies the community spirit that helped to build Plum Boro and demonstrates every day that it is alive and strong. Whereas each year, many citizens commit their time, talents, and resources to improve the quality of life for our entire community, few can achieve the degree of service and commitment of Dawn Marie Dern. Therefore, be it resolved that I, as mayor, along with council, wish to honor and thank Dawn Marie for her wholehearted support of Plum Boro citizens in need on this 14th day of November, 2022. Don, please. And I see a granddaughter. Well, since you came here tonight, and I see a couple other ones out there tonight who are attending their first council meetings in this new borough building, I would like to award you with a Plum Boro bear. And parents, could you give me a And I have two more bears here for the other two that happen to be here. I understand they wanted to come to this meeting tonight. Would you please come up here, please? Honey, would you please come up? Well, you know, if you come up around that side, I can... Hi. Would you like, that's a Plum Boro bear. Ah, good. Oh, run the other way. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations, Mrs. Dern.
I
Would you like
do
to
just
say-
want to say
Sure,
quickly,
please.
I am humbled by this. It was a career, that was a second career that I never thought that I would get into, let alone stay in it. And it's not just me, it's all of Plum EMS. It's the fire departments that put so much energy into helping us as well. And Plum Boro is a lucky community to have the resources that we have. So thank you so much for this, and I do really appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move along then to civic announcements. Mr. Dern, I know you have the library report.
I have a library report. For the month of September, the program highlights. September 14th was a book bingo, and that was for teens and adults. September 19th was a block party for children. September 20th was book bingo for children. September 21st was a movie matinee. It was Elvis, and that was for the adults. September 27th was a family game night, and that was open for all ages. September 29th was a fall craft. It was book pumpkins, and that was for adults. In regards to the library cards and computer usage, 7,350 people have library cards in the borough of Plum. There are 45 new library cards created in September. There are 212 public computer sessions and 7,196 public computer minutes. There are 145 Wi-Fi sessions and 11,291 Wi-Fi minutes. And as for the borrowing items and library collection, 3,759 items were borrowed, 4,386 items were renewed. There were 3,373 downloads of e-books and e-audiobooks, and there were 11,518 total items borrowed in September, and that included physical and digital. And there were 272 new physical items added to the collection at the library. And that's the report I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. Any other civic announcements? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along to president's comments. I thought this would be a good spot for our budget presentation tonight. Mr. Whitaco, if you would, please.
Evening. All of you should have a copy of the entire budget. And I'm pretty much going to be walking through it, not page by page, but you can follow along simply. The entire budget that we're proposing tonight is about almost 23 million, 22.99 million. It's about a $3.42 million increase over what you adopted in 2022. Inherent in this budget is we will be drawing down or utilizing prior year's fund balance totaling $2.9 million. As at the end of last audit year, we had approximately $6.9 million in all of the fund's fund balance. So again, we're drawing down approximately $2.9 million from that fund balance as we stand right now. Major assumptions in 2023, there is no proposed real estate tax increase built into the budget. Total mills right now for the borough are 4.78. Last time the increased mills was 2017, One will brings in approximately $1.6 million. We've been told that healthcare costs are going to be going up by 5%, estimating insurance costs going up by 3%, fuel costs by 4%, and workers' compensation 5%. Within this budget, we have 6.5 new positions. We have an administrative assistant position, 1.5 janitors. We currently have one part-time janitor now, in-house engineer, IT support staff, public works director, and a public works laborer. We're also assuming that we're going to have 3 police officers retire during 2023, one of which has already been filled, and we also have 2 new hires proposed in this budget during 2023. We're also proposing that we move some general fund balance before the end of 2022, $750,000 into the debt service fund and $425,000 into the capital improvement fund. Quick overview of the general fund. Total revenues are a little over $14.9 million. Expenditures $15.4 million. That is a proposed deficit of just a little bit under $500,000. Around 80% of our revenues here come from real estate taxes, income taxes, and sanitation fees. Over 74% of expenditures are associated with 3 departments, largest of which is the police department, 37%, public works 22%, and sanitation 15%. Transitioning into the revenues, total budget of revenues a little over $4.9 million, approximately $835,000 over the adopted 22 budget, or around 6%. Total real estate tax revenues are budgeted at $5.11 million. This is a 10.5% increase over the 22 budget, part of which was due to we're estimating new houses. We estimate so many new houses because of the prospering development here. And also, we're going to be reallocating dollars from other funds that receive real estate taxes into the general fund. Local enabling taxes, which are the transfer tax, earned income tax, and local services tax, the budget of $4.9 million. Under licenses and permits, we're budgeting a little bit over $785,000, made off of mainly cable TV franchise fees, $589,000, and building permits, $110,000. Intergovernmental revenues are budgeted at almost $1.5 million. We receive approximately $500,000 from the state for pension aid, the regional asset district funds, which is the 1% extra sales tax that we pay in Allegheny County, $725,000, and contracted snow removal, $110,000. Finally, our other larger revenues, sanitation, collection fees, $2.42 million. Going on to expenditures, total budget expenditures a little over $15.4 million, increase of $1.23 million, or approximately 8.7%. I'm going to be briefly going over every department, just giving you just a few highlights. The administrative department is increasing by 15.4% over last year's budget. That's due to mainly salary increases, specifically for a budgeted new hire position, administrative assistant in 2023, and an unbudgeted human resources position that we filled during 2022. Property tax budget, a little over $88,000, 20.5% decrease when compared to last year. That's mainly due to we purchased real estate tax software out of our current financial package we'll be going live with April of next year. IT department increased by 27% or $65,000. It's mainly due to an IT support staff person we hired next year. The borough building, which covers all the buildings that the borough owns, increasing by $187,000, about 44%. Part of which is due to, as I mentioned earlier, increasing janitors from a part-time to 2 full-time, and we're also budgeting for increasing the utilities for about $50,000. By far, our largest department is public safety of the police department. It represents about 37% of our general fund budget. Total budget for 2023 is $5.77 million. Relatively no change when compared to 2022. Inherent in the budget, as I mentioned, there's 3 retirements. Part of the retirements, police officers are paid for all of their unused compensated balances. For the 3 officers, we're budgeting for that to be about $150,000. What I'm proposing using during 2023 is a few years ago when the borough had to approve a fund balance policy. At that time, they assigned approximately $185,000 just for this situation. So I'm recommending drawing down on that fund balance that's assigned to pay for the 3 retirements for their compensated pay. Also, during the years I mentioned, we'll be hiring 2 new replacements due to retirees. They do come in at a lower rate and they transition to 100%. Retiree health care is going up by $59,000, and it's due to all the retirements that happened in 2022 and the 3 that we're budgeting for in 2023. Community development actually decreased by 2%. Last year we budgeted for an additional clerical position that we did not fill. The yearly cost associated with that position was approximately $76,000. Budgeted for sanitation costs increasing 8.8% or $183,000. And that's just due to our contractual arrangement with the carrier. Public Works Administration budget going up by $200,000 or almost 38%. That's due to 2 new positions, the Director of Public Works and an in-house engineer. Hire dates are March 1st and April 1st respectively. Our Public Works Department, which is our true road crew out in the field, increasing by 13.4% or around $164,000. Plan on hiring a new laborer July 1st. Health insurance costs are up about approximately $30,000 and pension costs about $17,000. Our winter maintenance program, due to the increase in the cost of the product, that department is going up by $75,000. We're budgeting for salt purchases of around $356,000 next year. Public Works maintenance is increasing by $104,000 or 22%. It's mainly due to the spike in fuel costs. Fuel, we're budgeting for an increase of $76,000 over 2022. Also, vehicle and equipment parts, we're budgeting for an increase of about $15,000. Our recreation department, which includes maintenance of all the borough parks, is increasing by $13.3 million, or 13.3%, or approximately $60,000. It's mainly due to us allocating additional public works staff time for that department. Community support department is increasing by only 3.8%. What we fund out of there is a stipend to the community center, $85,000. The library stipend, a little over $95,000. We also have community activities, and the largest 3 are Summerfest, $23,000, Fall Fest 4, and Winterfest 8. That's it for the general fund, and I'll briefly discuss all the other funds. We have a fire fund, revenues coming in predominantly from real estate taxes, for about $600,000. Also for fire insurance proceeds, estimating $145,000. Expenditures are coming in at $763,000. Main expenditures in the fire fund are fire truck loan payments, $152,000. We also contribute to the fire departments as a monthly stipend. The sum of all 3 is a little over $205,000. And as I mentioned earlier, revenues coming in for foreign fire insurance, $145,000. We're required to submit to each volunteer fire department 1/4 of that within 60 days of receipt of those funds. Street improvement, real estate tax revenues of about $400,000. Expenditures are $350,000. So we're going to be drawing over $300,000 of our prior year's fund balance to balance this next year. Road construction, $233,000. And we also allocate our public works staffs to do the road work, almost $400,000 of their time, and fringe benefit is allocated to street improvements. Flood mitigation, it is one of our newer funds, projecting revenues of $1.2 million next year. Expenditures of only $768,000. We're proposing a mid-year fee increase for flood mitigation. Major expenditures are, again, we allocate our public works staff time to this fund, almost $400,000. Materials and supplies, the cost of materials and supplies have gone up drastically during 2022. We're budgeting for $200,000. And engineering associated with stormwater projects, $110,000. EMS fund, the revenues coming in are just a little shy of $500,000. The majority of that goes to EMS here. Next year's stipend is $435,000, down from $460,000 last year. Our debt service fund, revenues coming in are $776,000, predominantly coming from real estate taxes, a little shy of $710,000. Expenditures during the year, which is all pertaining to our borough debt service, our bond debt service, a little over $2 million. All bond debt service is now funded out of the debt service fund. Projecting at the end of 2023 a fund balance of $70,000. Going out a few years, I just want to note that the fund balance is projected to have a deficit of about $2.3 million at the end of 2025. Capital improvement project, estimated fund balance at the end of 22 is about $800,000. And as I mentioned earlier, we're proposing a transfer of $425 from the general fund before the end of 2022. Revenues coming in about $730, predominantly real estate taxes, $560,000, grants, $154,000. Expenditures next year are almost $2 million. Existing capital lease purchase agreements, $526,000. So new capital lease or loan agreements, depending on where we go next year with this, 143, made up of three police vehicles, Ford F-350, a new leaf vac, a pool building to keep all of our newer equipment out of the climate so that they last longer, and 2 vehicles for our parks. Also some major improvements, Grant Park Phase 3, $441,000, Barnes Road, $275,000, and Holiday Park Phase 3 Stormwater, almost $420,000. Right now, we're estimating a negative fund balance of $53,000 in the capital improvement fund. Under late stick liquid fuels, which are monies that we get from the state liquid fuels program, projecting that we're going to receive $794,000. We predominantly use these funds for our paving program. We're budgeting for $800,000 coming out of that fund next year. That is all the funds. If the group has any questions, I just have some closing comments generally on all the funds, specifically the general fund. Right now, we're showing a deficit of almost $500,000. Something to think about, as I mentioned earlier, we use $150,000 of the assigned fund balance for police compensated absences. Think about eliminating some of the new positions. As I mentioned earlier, we got 6.5 of them. What we haven't projected yet is the savings from an in-house engineer. So we have to take a look at that before we adopt the budget. There will be some expenditure savings across more than one fund. We can allocate some additional real estate taxes from other funds. We did make some last minute changes to the street improvement fund, so we can allocate about $100,000 out of that, get closer to balancing this. And also, we need to look at some other departmental expense reductions across the board. For capital improvements fund, in order to get that balance, I think we need to take a look at and prioritize all of the 2023 capital projects with the possibility of deferring some of them into future years. Finally, debt service fund, as I mentioned earlier, we're projecting a decent fund balance deficit at the end of 2025, part of which will be funded with the project development of where the old administration facility is located now.
Any questions for Mr. Whitaker?
That's good. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, moving along to citizens' comments on agenda items. No one has signed up, but that doesn't mean anybody can come up right now. Okay, seeing none. Council actions. We'll start with Mr. Delaney on behalf of the Planning and Economic Development Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Planning and Economic Development Committee, I move to adopt Resolution 943-22, approving a sewage planning module for the Sardis Road Sewage Service Project.
Motion by Mr. Delaney,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Vento. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to approve the Bookupneck subdivision plan FSC-09-22 as complete, conditioned upon final review and approval of the borough engineer.
Motion by Mr. Delaney. Seconded by Mr. Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I have moved to accept the Shops at Plum Creek consolidation plan FSC-10-22 as complete.
We have a
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Delaney, seconded by Mr. Vento. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to accept the Cato plan of lots FSC-11-22 as complete.
Motion by Mr. Delaney,
Second.
second by Mr. Hadley. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to authorize the advertisement of an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the Colonial Point Phase 2 roads.
Motion by Mr. Delaney,
Second.
second by Mr. Dern. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to authorize the advertisement of an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of storm ponds and easements in Colonial Point Phases 1 and 2.
We have a motion by Mr. Delaney,
Second.
Second by Mr. Dern, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to authorize the advertisement of an ordinance adopting new safety stop limits.
Motion by Mr. Delaney.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wenzel, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to set the date for the public demolition hearings on Monday, January 30th, 2023 at 6 p.m.
Motion by Mr. Delaney.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dern, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the last one, I move to award the bid for the demolition of 4 unsafe residential structures to Cherub Construction LLC in the amount of $35,000.
Motion by Mr. Delaney.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dern, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Delaney. On behalf of Personnel Management, Mr. Hadley.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Personnel and Management Committee, I move to approve a cost of living increase for a police officer pension benefit as recommended by the Borough Actuary.
Motion by Mr. Hadley. Second by Mr. Sykes, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
On behalf of Personnel and Management Committee, I move to approve a cost of living increase for a second police officer pension benefit as recommended by the Borough Actuary.
Motion by Mr. Hadley.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dern, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And on behalf of the committee, I move to approve a cost of living increase for a third police officer pension benefit as recommended by the Borough Actuary.
Motion by Mr. Hadley, second by Mr. Sykes, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
On behalf of the committee, I move to end the probationary employment status of Jessica Yemnitsky effective November 1st, 2022 with full salary benefits as defined in the offer of employment.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hadley, second by Mr. Dern, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Jessica.
Yes, congratulations. Welcome aboard. She's down there. You're down here now. On behalf of the Personnel Management Committee, I move to table this item.
Motion by Mr. Hadley.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Vento, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, on behalf of the Personnel Management Committee, I move to change the regular scheduled December voting meeting to Wednesday, December 14th at 5:30 p.m.
Motion by Mr. Hadley.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Dern, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That is all, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hadley. Finance Committee, Mr. Sykes.
Thank you. So on behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to advertise the 2023 proposed annual budget as presented by the Finance Committee and to place a copy of the proposed budget on public display at the Borough Building and Municipal Center.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Sykes, seconded by Mr. Vento, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to advertise the 2023 earned income tax ordinance at the total rate of 1%.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Sykes, seconded by Mr. Vento, all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, seconded by Mr. Taylor, for the record. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, I move to advertise the 2023 local services tax ordinance at a total rate of $52 per year.
Seconded.
Motion by Mr. Sykes, seconded by Mr. Dern, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Sykes. That completes council actions for the evening. And we'll move along to the mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I get into my report, I would like to recognize Mike Thomas for all the work he's done this past year and a half on dealing with all the issues within the borough, as well as with all the issues with this building, questions, some problems. All have been resolved satisfactorily. And I really hope everyone in the community that can will be here Friday night for a tour of the facility. We are no longer a farming, mining community. We've stepped up, and other municipalities need to take a look at what we've accomplished here. And with that, on the mayor's report.
I have a question first. Does Mike get a teddy bear?
No. But I'll give him a piece of chocolate. Well, he already had that. Uniform patrol officers responded to 901 calls in October. That's about normal for us. I do not have, and it's not for lack of a projector here, we took our speed monitoring signs and put them away for the winter. So I don't have the idiot reports that I normally give. We had some training this year, or this past month. And again, we've got an asset here within the community, and that is the Amplified Church. They allow us to use their parking lot, the school to use the parking lots, the stage for the seniors on their parades. And they allow our officers to do their close quarter ballistic shield training in their facility, which is nice, because rather than having it at some facility like this, where there's not that much chance of attack, we did it in the church, we can do it in the schools. So they get a real life situation. The other thing I do want to remember is September's Thoughtful Citizens. And one thing, Michael, we are missing downstairs that I've asked for I should have asked, I recommended we do it, is a scale for our officers down there. Thoughtful Citizens. The subway in Prescal, the plaza, provided a tray of sandwiches. Who stopped by for lunch? Carol and Joe Delacitro dropped off boxes of cookies for the First Responders Day from a Holy Family Parish and Our Lady of Joy. Jessica May of Temple David delivered large boxes of cookies in remembrance of the positive police response to the Tree of Life synagogue shootings. This community is unlike others. And I've said this in the past. I've spoken with a lot of other community officials. Our officers are treated with a great deal of respect, and they treat the community with respect. And the last thing I have, how come I never get invited when they get these cookies and Subways in?
You gotta let it go.
Asking
I can't let it go.
for a scale means you'll never get invited.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a scale down. I want an industrial scale. All right, that's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to the end of our budget, except for public comment on non-agenda items. Justin, we have anybody sign up for that? Anybody for the betterment of the borough? Oh, geez, I'm sorry, John.
Another one?
Flip the page over.
Gotta flip it over, like the S's in high school.
Committee reports, Intergovernmental Cooperative Committee with the School District.
We just had a meeting tonight, as a matter of fact, and the school district wanted us to say that the movie night that they had for going back to school was a success, and they're looking forward to doing it again. And I asked them to be used the point person to get that all squared away. The bus transportation has been approved for Christmas at Plum Creek. They did ask us to reach out to the county, and I talked to Mr. Delaney. They do have some things on their website about mental health awareness, but we're looking to expand that with some more resources. So we're going to try to get some numbers available from the county that will cross with their website and put it on our website and maybe out on Savvy Citizen.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're going to do the students, the student government. So what we're looking at is for them to pick 6 students, 3 women, 3 guys, and then we can interview them as a council and narrow it down to 1 guy and 1 girl, and that'll be coming up. And I'm going to ask Mr. Thomas to maybe get 6 to 10 questions that we can ask once we get those 6 people to have sort of an equal playing field to ask them questions. And then also, there were 7 soccer teams that won gold at the Edinburgh tournament. I don't know if this is past weekend or this past month. In June? In June. And we really need to give them some recognition maybe. I know, Harry, you like to talk, you get paid by the word, so that might be something for a future meeting that we should
I'll be more than happy to recognize soccer.
Yeah. Other than that, I think that was about it. So thank you, Mr. Doyle. That concludes that report.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. The Finance Committee, Mr. Sykes.
Thank you. So in the month of October, the borough recognized revenues totaling $508,000 and incurred expenses in the amount of $1.43 million. To date, revenues are trending slightly above budget. We've received almost $4.3 million in real estate tax revenues, represents 96% of the adopted budget. And we've received $155,000 of the earned income tax, and there we're at 88% of the adopted budget. Expenses through the month of October, the borough's expended about 78% of its budget. From a year-end standpoint, we have no budget concerns for this year, and expenditures and revenues are tracking as expected. After analyzing next year's cash flow position, it's estimated the borough's tax anticipation note for 2023 will be $1.5 million. And on November 1st, the Finance Committee met to review the 2023 budget, which Mr. Whitaker went through earlier. And to sum all that up, the 2023 budget projects total revenues across all funds of approximately $20 million and expenditures across all funds of approximately $23 million, and the use of about $3 million out of the borough's $7 million in fund balance, pending any implementation of any final adjustments that Mr. Whitaker discussed. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Seitz. Mr. Vento, Roads, Equipment, and Grounds.
Thank you, Mr. President. Roads and Equipment and Grounds report for October is as follows. Dairy Construction has completed the 2022 paving contract. The contractor was attentive throughout the project and addressed complaints and concerns from residents in a timely manner. It's nice to get that report. We've gone through so many other contractors that weren't as attentive and got things done in a timely manner. It's a pleasant surprise. 3 stormwater inlets were repaired on Renton Road, and 4 new inlets were installed on Renton Road. Inlets were also repaired on Belmont Boulevard, Bank Alley, Leechburg Road, and Sardis Road. Maintenance work was completed at the bioretention pond at Larry Mills Park. This consisted of removing grass and trees that had grown into the pond area and mulching of the pond. The dump site at Larry Mills was graded and seeded. This will help some of the sediment from washing away from the site. Milling and asphalt repairs were completed on Harris Road, Center Road, and Rep Road. The Coal Miners Memorial was removed from the Borough Building and brought to Public Works for restoration work. It will be installed in a new display at the Municipal Center. I mean, you can see it's out there. The display's not there. The Coal Miners' card is there. The annual leaf pickup program began on October 11th. The amount of leaf material initially only required operating 1 truck, but has since increased, and all 3 trucks are currently in full operation. The Public Works crew continues to make every effort to complete the daily routes as scheduled. The collection program is scheduled to end on December 2nd, but this date could change due to winter storm events. Preventive maintenance and state inspections were performed on 20 pieces of equipment and trucks and 8 police vehicles. That's it. That's all the report I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vento. Mr. Dern, Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. Mr. Maloney, would you like to come up and give the EMS report for the month, please?
And I am certainly, with the rest of the council, glad to see you're back.
I'll tell you what, Brian Maloney, Director of Operations, and I can't tell you how happy I am actually just to be able to stand here and do this presentation. Unfortunately, I was while cycling, I was struck by a vehicle, head first into a windshield, and so it's been some time for the recovery, a lot slower than I would like, I have to say, but I had a lot of support from my family and my friends. And when I say my friends, I mean my coworkers. They wouldn't even let me go to any kind of work, which was the most frustrating thing I've ever done. My life was going 100 miles an hour, and it pretty much almost came to a complete stop. So I'm very, very lucky to be here today, and very lucky to have the people in my life. So, and that even kind of talks about the Dawn Marie deal that's going on, the award and recognition. When we did this award, and she was one of the 12 recipients, I knew we had it like perfect for her to be the one to get that. Because you know what the first thing out of her mouth was when she got that award? Was that there are so many other people at Plum EMS that deserve this. And right there, I was just like, that's the quality of person she is. So I can't tell you how proud I am of her and her accomplishments and what she's done with Plum EMS and throughout the community. Well, for the month of October, we had a good month. It's going to be a busy month. 262 responses. We transported 162 of those people. We ended up going to neighboring communities 19 times. 18 of those people ended up needing transport to the hospital. We needed mutual aid to come into Plum, our neighboring agencies, 13 times, which that's just over 5% of the time. So our crew's did incredibly well, hustling at the hospitals, getting back in service. Throughout the month, since the last meeting, we've also been very busy. We ended up hosting a seasonal flu vaccine clinic, which we're actually one of the busiest that we've had in a number of years. We had people lined up down Holiday Park Fire Department waiting to get in for this. We ended up having all 4 of our trucks out during trick-or-treating, handing out candy, having our lights on, trying to help slow traffic down, increase safety there. The other thing, Mayor Slagle can relate to this, we actually did 2 story sessions at the library. These are for 3-year-olds. Let me tell you, when I did it, I was calling for backup. And that was one of the toughest groups I've ever done a presentation for. So you might somewhat relate to that, but that turned out great, a lot of fun with that. And then just last week for the high school, we did our biannual CPR, first aid, and medical emergency review for 350 faculty and staff. This is throughout less than an 8-hour day, and it was amazing to see this all come together. They were all a great group of people to work with, so we had a lot of fun there. And then the last thing, for the past, this will actually be our 3rd year, but I call it a community. We have worked together to help the school district stuff a bus. Their goal is to get at least 1,000 toys every year and put them in to be able to stuff a school bus. The first year we participated, and there was a number of agencies that did it, the Plum Boro Admin, Plum Police, the Concordia Ridgewood, Hannah Healthcare Center, Holiday Park Fire Department. We filled the back of an ambulance more than waist deep. It was an amazing thing. Last year when we did it, especially the people of the bingo at Holiday Park, they knocked us out of the park. I mean, it was amazing. We had the back of an ambulance full from floor to ceiling, and we're doing it again this year. And once again, very similar agencies are participating. I know Redden's kicking in. Also, I think Unity Fire Department's participating. And we're trying to do this as a community. And so the night of the Christmas at Plum Creek, we're going to be at our station collecting toys. I've heard that close to 3,000 people may attend this event. And if we could get, just a toy, not maybe from every person, but somewhere, we can collect a lot of toys there. So I ask that you help support this idea. We'll be there with a box because it benefits the Toys for Tots, and we'll try to see how much we can get in that back of an ambulance. It's one of those things, I'll tell you what, even thinking about it, I almost cried. And people said I look like a kid at Christmas as I'm loading all these toys in the ambulance. To think of the impact that we have on the community and the surrounding communities as well. So I do appreciate it once again. Thank you very much for letting me be here. But questions, comments, a story to make me smile.
If we get a toy, would you bring it down to the drop off at the fire?
There's going to be a box here at the borough. The police department, I think, will have one, but we'll also have one. But that night at the drop off, because the drop off is going to be right in front of our station, we're going to be right there. We're going to try to get them as soon as they get off the bus.
Should they be wrapped?
No, unwrapped, but it has to be a new toy. And they call it Toys for Tots, but I've seen things from games for older kids, to footballs, to different type of things like that. So, and last year when the Marine opened the door of our ambulance, my one coworker Eric swore he saw a tear because what had happened, I think it was in Louisville, one of their warehouses caught on fire and they lost a lot of toys. And we had collected so many toys in this area that we filled our quota and a lot more, and a lot of it went to that area. And so Eric swore he saw a tear. And one of our former Marines said it was a sweat, it wasn't a tear. But it was an amazing experience, and I hope all of you can kind of participate in it as well, or at some point. So, all right. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yes, welcome back. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
That's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Durr. Mr. Delaney, Planning and Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the Planning and Economic Development Committee, the Planning Department issued 159 permits this month. The Zoning Hearing Board met to discuss 3 submissions, all of which were approved. Staff performed the MS4 outfall and observation point inspections and continued to update the GIS map. Staff met with the MS4 consultant to discuss the annual report and retrofitting ponds. Staff also had a call with Hunt Valley to discuss the Turnpike PennDOT PRP MS4 credit project. Staff had a pre-application meeting for a proposed new commercial development on Salzburg Road. Code enforcement completed 151 residential occupancy inspections and addressed 29 complaints. And Plum was awarded $73,000 in funding from the Watershed Restoration Protection Program, a PRP improvement project for pond clearing and grubbing. That'll be all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. Last but certainly not least, Mr. Taylor, Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. President. At Larry Mills Park, all of the soccer fields were aerated and seeded as part of the fall maintenance program. Rubber mulch was replenished along the perimeter. There are areas in the permanent poured rubber section that will be repaired first thing in the spring. Phase 2 of the Renton Park Enhancement Project continues with the bocce court and cornhole board areas being constructed and then the walking trail being paved. Additionally, 2 lot LED light poles will be installed. At Plum Library, the new FOB system was installed. The doors are now synchronized with the borough system. ADA accessible doors are scheduled to be installed this week, weather permitting. Routine maintenance and grass mowing continued at all borough locations, including the parks, El Francie Building, Community Center, Plum Library, and the Public Works Building, and the Borough Building. Borough Haps. Christmas at Plum Creek will be held Thursday, December 1st from 5:30 to 9. A new design is underway to showcase the new municipal complex. Activities include live reindeer, food trucks, games, carnival rides, and Santa shop and visit from Santa. The winter issue of In Plum magazine will be sent out mid-November. Look out for the articles on recycling, snow removal, and catch basins. And the borough gained 10 Facebook followers, new Facebook followers, and 7 savvy citizen followers this month. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Now it's time for citizens' comments on the non-agenda items. Anybody like to come up? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Yes, you
Thank
said
you.
one more. Thank you.
Yes, I had one more item that I failed to read during the police report. If you notice our police officers, they're looking a bit scruffy. They're growing beards, which they have to pay for November and December. This is No Shave November for our officers. In order to do that, they have to make a donation. And I'm proud to say that our officers have donated $1,340 to Meals on Wheels. We're thinking about continuing it in December. That's all I have, sir.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dern, second by Mr. Vento. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Remember, we'll be there.
Mike, could you take a few quick photos here, just because we wanted to get a couple of photos of the first meeting?
I got it.
With your...
Are we staying?
I would think so.